Guys, it's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, December 10th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:47 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from here in the US and from overseas. So what you're looking at here is the flight path of a US missile detecting and tracking plane over southern Alaska, and it was airborne for several hours last night. It took off from Anchorage, and it was doing this elongated loop east to west, which means that it was looking north towards the Arctic or south towards the Pacific. So not sure if there was a threat to the US, if Russia was potentially going to launch missiles at the US, or if there was some kind of missile test going on in the Arctic or in the Pacific. Maybe we were testing a missile, or maybe we were testing our interceptors. They typically launch those over the Pacific. I don't know, but this is very, very unusual. Also, there was a nuke sniffer airborne at the same time over Nebraska with its flight tracker turned off. So something was definitely going on last night, and we had a large number of nuclear codes transmitted back to back right around 2 a.m. Eastern Time, 0200 Eastern Time. There were about a dozen nuclear codes back to back without any breaks in between. So either we launched another strike on a drug boat, which we may hear about today, later, or maybe tomorrow, or something else was going on. We're actually at over 30 nuclear codes so far today, and we're about halfway through the day. So that's a lot of nuclear codes for not even being all the way through the day. Also, last night we had a U.S. Navy recon drone fly down towards the Bay of Campeche, and it was spending a lot of time right off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. They've been flying here pretty much every single day for the last week, every single night. So that tells me that the Trump administration may be striking targets here in Mexico, or maybe they're keeping an eye on some of the drug boats coming from Mexico and heading to the US. So looks like strikes on Latin America, land strikes will be happening very soon. And CNN is reporting that Trump has not decided how to resolve the standoff in Venezuela. Inside the administration, multiple contrasting viewpoints exist, with two senior officials reportedly telling CNN there was no appetite for ramped up U.S. engagement in the country. Very interesting. And the Trump administration is quietly drafting contingency plans for a potential post-Maduro Venezuela. Officials are evaluating scenarios from a negotiated departure to Maduro being removed after possible U.S. strikes. The options outline possible U.S. actions to manage a power vacuum and stabilize Venezuela. So we know that Machado, the opposition leader in Venezuela, left Venezuela 2 days ago, left this past weekend, and we don't know where she went. I think she went to Europe, but that's clearly a sign that the U.S. is preparing something and that Maduro's days are numbered. Trump actually even said in an interview with Politico yesterday that Maduro's days are numbered, and he said that the U.S. could soon take action on the ground, but declined to rule out a full U.S. invasion. Wow, so he did not want to rule out a full invasion, guys. We have 5,000 Marines right offshore from Venezuela. 5,000 Marines, guys, with amphibious assault ships. Okay, those are for beach landings, guys. That's what Marines specialize in, is beach landings. Okay. And the presidents of Venezuela and Iran held a telephone conversation in which they reaffirmed their strategic cooperation and solidarity in the face of threats from the U.S. Okay, and we know that Iran has been building Shahed drones Those are the drones that they gave to Russia to attack Ukraine. They've been building Shahed drones inside of Venezuela. There's actual Shahed drone factories in Venezuela. And we're hearing from various reports that they're going to try to see if they can reach the U.S. with those Shahed drones, potentially to go after our strategic petroleum reserves and all of the oil and gas fields in Texas, Louisiana, and the Gulf Coast states, okay, as retaliation for us attacking Venezuela. But with Shahed drones, they can easily target our warships, aircraft carriers, and also our bases in the region, including Trinidad, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, okay? And Russian sabotage in Europe may be a preparation for a full-scale war by 2029, according to the Financial Times. European intelligence officials told the publication that recent sabotage incidents represent not just Moscow's tactical response to the war in Ukraine, but a strategic escalation. The targets and the level of risk Russia is taking indicate a more serious threat than previously assumed. The publication also reports that Russian agents are scouting road bridges and railways across Europe, likely to plant explosives, and that Moscow is trying to infiltrate highly skilled sleeper cells into European countries. Wow. Okay, so we've already seen a bunch of sabotage incidents in Poland. They burned down a market in Warsaw. I think that was last year or the year before. They burned down this huge market in Warsaw, and it's like a flea market. And then they planted a bomb on one of the trains in Poland, one of the train tracks. Okay, so this is only going to escalate. And there were some reports like 2 years ago that Russian saboteurs were scouting out German military bases that were involved in assisting Ukraine in the Ukraine war. Okay. And also, the European intelligence agencies have established that a Russian sabotage ring was preparing to blow up passenger planes flying to the U.S. from Europe. Wow, very concerning. And several unidentified military-style drones were spotted on 3 separate occasions last month over the Creil military base to the north of Paris, France, which houses parts of the French Directorate of Military Intelligence, according to a statement released by the French Air and Space Force. The first drone sightings over the base in northern France occurred on November 26th, with additional suspected sightings having occurred on the nights of November 28th and 30th. Wow. So very, very concerning. Drones flying over a military intelligence headquarters in France. And we know that drones have been flying over the Volkel Air Base in the Netherlands. And that's where we keep all of our B-61 nuclear gravity bombs. Well, not all of them, sorry. It's one of 7 bases in Europe that houses U.S. nuclear gravity bombs. And twice in the last few weeks, drones were spotted over the Volkel Air Base. Very, very concerning. And we have some very concerning news coming out of Asia. 2 Chinese and 7 Russian military aircraft, including long-range bombers and fighter jets, entered South Korea's air defense identification zone this morning at around 10 a.m. local time over the waters to the south and east of the Korean peninsula. While operating over the Sea of Japan, fighters with the Republic of Korea Air Force were scrambled in response to the intrusion. So 9 Chinese and Russian bombers and fighter jets flew towards South Korea. Guys, that is a huge escalation, okay? Not 1 bomber, not 2 bombers, not 4, okay? 9 bombers and fighter jets. That is a huge amount. And it shows that China and Russia our allies when it comes to the Korean Peninsula and Asia. That's a show of solidarity that if there were ever a war in Korea, Russia and China would back up North Korea and bomb South Korea, okay? And big tech will start managing our nuclear submarines. The US Navy awarded a contract to Palantir worth hundreds of millions of dollars to manage the supply chain of the US Navy's nuclear submarine fleet. Wow, that is very concerning. We are giving Palantir the keys to the kingdom, our nuclear submarines, which include part of our nuclear triad, our Ohio-class submarines, which have our Trident missiles, which are the backbone of our nuclear force, our nuclear deterrent. Over 60% of our nuclear warheads are dedicated to our Ohio-class subs. So, very concerning that Palantir is getting the keys to the kingdom on that. And Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, told his European counterparts that during a 2-hour conversation on Saturday, he was pressured by Witkoff and Kushner to make a quick decision on the peace plan and agree to territorial concessions in exchange for unspecified U.S. security guarantees. Wow. And a British soldier was killed in Ukraine on Tuesday while observing a test of a new defense capability being conducted by Ukrainian forces. Interesting. I don't know what they were testing, but he was killed apparently during this test. And Lithuania on Tuesday declared a state of emergency and asked Parliament to authorize military support for Lithuanian police and border guards after a recent wave of balloons that flew into Lithuania from Belarus repeatedly that caused air traffic disruptions, specifically around the capital, Vilnius. Okay, so Belarus is conducting a hybrid war against Lithuania, sending these balloons into Vilnius to mess up their air traffic. I mean, just imagine if, like, Mexico started sending low altitude balloons over into Texas and they were drifting into Dallas, airspace every single day. They, having to cancel flights on a daily basis because of these balloons flying over. It doesn't sound serious, but if a plane collides with a balloon, the plane can crash. So they have to shut the whole airspace down until the balloon flies out or drifts out or is shot down. Okay, so Belarus conducting a hybrid war against Lithuania, sending these balloon swarms into Lithuania. Okay. And Belarus did the same thing to Poland with the migrants. Okay, Russia and Belarus pick up these terrorists from the Middle East and from Africa, and they bring them to the Polish border and they try to send them into Poland. And Poland had to build this huge fence along their border with Belarus, and one Polish soldier was killed by one of these migrants that made a spear and threw the spear at the Polish soldier through the fence. Now, Polish soldiers have been authorized to use deadly force, and there have been instances where Polish soldiers or border guards have actually opened fire on these migrants. Okay, but Belarus waging a hybrid war against Poland and the Baltics and Finland. And the U.S. Congress is moving to limit the Pentagon's ability to withdraw American troops from Europe and South Korea, according to provisions included in the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, the draft of which lawmakers recently approved. Under the legislation, the United States may not reduce its troop presence in Europe below 76,000 personnel unless the administration provides detailed justification and certifies to Congress that such a reduction would not harm the security interests of the U.S. or NATO. The bill also prohibits lowering troop levels in South Korea below 28,500. Okay. So, 76,000 for Europe, 28,000 in South Korea. Those are the limits set by Congress, the bare minimum of troops that Trump cannot go below that. And I want to read to you some of the main points from the Trump Politico interview yesterday. He said that apparently he's the best president ever. He said that already they are saying better than Lincoln, better than Washington, better than everybody. The best 10 months ever in the history of the US. That's what he's saying. Wow, guys, your president right now is saying that he's the best ever, better than Reagan, better than Washington, better than Lincoln. I mean, guys, he's losing touch with reality. And Trump says Europe's leaders are weak, saying European nations are decaying, and says there was an understanding not to include Ukraine in NATO long before Putin. He also called Putin a great salesman, one of the best. He also said Zelensky was a great salesman too. Trump also said it's time for Zelensky to start accepting proposals because he's losing on the battlefield. Wow. Trump also said that Obama forced Ukraine to give up Crimea, describing Crimea as beautiful real estate. Well, he's not wrong there. Obama did screw up in Ukraine, but that doesn't justify Trump screwing up also and basically giving Ukraine to Russia and not standing up for U.S. and European interests against Russia. That's just appeasement, guys, and it's not going to make the situation any better. And when asked about Putin's approval of the Trump administration's national security strategy, Trump says Putin would like to see a weak Europe, adding, to be honest with you, he's getting that. Well, Trump is contributing to the weak Europe. Yes, we know the Europeans are weak, not European citizens, but the European government leaders and the European military leaders, they're weak. They don't want to have proper militaries, but Trump is contributing to that weakness by constantly feeding Putin and basically bending over for Putin, okay? Trump said it's time to hold elections in Ukraine. He also said that in Zelensky's first meeting with Putin, he demanded the return of Crimea and that Ukraine was going to join NATO and that Zelensky didn't say it nicely. And Zelensky said in response that he is ready to host elections, provided that the US and Europe can guarantee that the elections will be secure. So that's the biggest risk in Ukraine with holding elections, is that Russia would obviously try to interfere in those elections because that's like a huge opportunity for them to get someone else in there, so that's the big concern with these elections, is that they have to be secure. Okay. Zelensky also said that Ukraine does not have the strength to return Crimea back yet, which is obvious. He also said that today he would be presenting Trump with a new peace plan. He also said that Russia is not ready for peace right now. And the Kremlin said that any actions taken against Russia's assets, they're talking about the frozen assets, if they occur, will not go unanswered and will lead to serious consequences. And we're also hearing that another strike occurred on one of the Russian oil tankers. Another Ukrainian Sea Baby drone took out a Russian oil tanker in the Black Sea. And Poland has announced that it will be entering into discussions with Ukraine about sending all of its remaining MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine in exchange for Ukrainian missile and drone technology. And the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth unveiled a new AI system for military service members. He said the future of American warfare is here, and it's spelled AI. AI tools present boundless opportunities to increase efficiency, and we are thrilled to witness AI's future positive impact across the Defense Department, which he calls the War Department. So, guys, that is very concerning. This administration whether you like it or not, is pushing the mark of the beast system. They're implementing AI like crazy, and Trump just recently signed a bill that would fund up to $1 trillion for AI development to supercharge AI development. Also, he passed a bill, or actually, it was an executive order. I'm sorry, it was an executive order that any state that refuses to fund AI development or interferes with AI development will be punished by the government, and funds will be withheld. So Trump is going to punish states that refuse to implement AI. Okay, think about that for a minute, guys. Is that something a leader of the people would do? Is that something that somebody who's an outsider would do? No, Trump is part of the New World Order. He's implementing the beast system, whether you like it or not. That's the truth, and AI will be a part of the mark of the beast, okay? And the situation between Thailand and Cambodia is continuing to escalate. Thai F-16s and Gripen fighter jets conducted airstrikes on Cambodia yesterday, and we're now hearing that the Thai Navy is being deployed. Apparently, ships from the Thai Navy have started launching strikes on Cambodia, and they were able to reclaim an area that was captured by Cambodia yesterday. And we're hearing that Cambodia is now preparing to deploy hundreds of suicide drones, probably built by Iran or Russia. And we're hearing that more than 500,000 people have fled their homes in Thailand and Cambodia since the start of the war, the latest war, which they're calling a conflict. Okay, that's just like a soft way of saying war. Okay, this is a war, guys. Okay, the Thai Prime Minister said that the Thai military has the full backing of the prime minister, and that he's authorizing full force operations. Okay. And Trump said that he was going to speak to the prime ministers of Cambodia and Thailand today. Trump also said during the Politico interview that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a low IQ person. She was a loyal person until I wasn't able to answer her phone calls because I'm just too busy to answer people's phone calls. You can't call me 3 times a day. Wow. So Trump acting like a teenager in high school, trolling Marjorie Taylor Greene, making it seem like she was obsessed with him, or maybe they, I don't know if they, claiming that maybe she had some kind of romantic interest in him. I don't know. He's crazy. Also, India is going to be testing an ICBM, it looks like. Look at this massive no-fly zone. This is going to be from December 17th through December 20th. Look at the size of this no-fly zone, guys. This is India to the left. So this is clearly an ICBM test. All right, but that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on this evening with a live update and live monitoring. And until the next time, follow me on Patreon. Also, check me out on Twitter and Telegram. The links are in the description down below. And consider checking out some of my sponsors now that the holidays are here and Christmas is coming up. Use some of my promo codes in the description down below when you're doing your Christmas shopping. It'll help you out and it'll help me out as well. So until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.